In this lesson, we're going to create the mirrors for our car. Alright, so let's go ahead and create the side mirrors. The side mirrors for this car are actually pretty simple. You can see here that they kind of have this little flare. And if you go to your right or the left view here, you can see that it actually kind of extends down, but the mirror is placed right here. Pretty simple shape. Let's go ahead and get started with building that. We're going to go to our front view, and I'm going to create just a simple box to get us started. I'm going to make it about the size of our rear view mirror, or the side mirror, I should say. And then let's go ahead and move it to the left view. Pull that up right here. And you can see that it kind of tapers a little bit. If we go to our top view, you can definitely see the angle there. So we're going to convert this to editable poly and go to vertex mode. And I'm just going to line these up. Okay. Let's hit Alt-X on this object. And let's go ahead and put this into position. Let's add a segment right here in the middle. So we can go to Edit, Swift Loop, add a loop there. Let's go ahead and add our vertex point there. And it's going to create kind of this little shape here. I'm actually going to double click on this edge right here and chamfer. That's going to split that into two. And this will give us a little bit more of a better shape. Okay. Let's constrain the vertices to that edge. Okay, just like that. We'll kind of pull that around, give it this shape, and turn your constraints off. Then in our left view, let's go ahead and pull those edges up. So I'm going to take this center edge right here in the middle of that, and I'm going to pull that up. Okay, and then let's take this entire bottom here, and let's pull that up here. Okay, and then what this will allow me to do is grab this edge and then pull it down until it's rounded out there. So a really rough shape here, but it's going to get us what we need. Okay, go to our front view. Let's take this vertex right here and pull that down. We're going to start to round this out a little bit. So take this edge, pull that in, and then take this one. Let's pull that down, and then take this and pull that in. So just like we did there. And then really quickly, oops, I think I grabbed the wrong edge. I did. Let's take that vertex and pull that down. There we go. And then take that edge, pull that in like that. And we're going to pull this down. And so it should look pretty well rounded, okay, like this. Do a little bit of tweaking to those edges there. And it's going to look really rough at first, but we're going to get this to where it looks decent. Let's add in another edge right across the center of that. Okay, just like that. You may want to go ahead and straighten it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to constrain it to the edge, but then make planar in the Y, so that way it's perfectly straight across and in the middle. And then you can come in and you can take these points and you can pull those to the left. Now before we do that, let's turn off our constraints. And you'll see that that starts to round out the bottom of that. So now we're getting that point. Now the really neat thing about this is whenever we come in and we apply the turbo smooth to this, let me actually add these here, just kind of round that out some more. When we add the turbo smooth to this, it's going to come out, it's going to look really funny at first. But what we want to do is we want to add our segments to really set this off. So first thing, let's get the actual mirror inside of that. So we're going to inset this, and we're just going to inset it a small amount. Let's do something like maybe 0.1. It should give us a little bit of a lip there. And actually, let's go up to 0.2. Try that one more time. Sometimes my value, whenever we try to type that in, sometimes it doesn't want to type in. I'm not sure if that's a bug or what. But all right, so there we have that. Then let's extrude it, and we're going to extrude it inward. Okay, and hit OK, and then let's scale it in a little bit, like that. And then let's inset it again, but this time we're going to inset it to 0.1, just give it a very thin edge. And then let's extrude it, but this time let's do a positive 0.365 to bring it back flush. Hit enter on that. And then we're going to inset this one more time like that, so that way it creates a nice flush edge there. Okay, this is going to be kind of like the mirror. Let's go to Edit and Swift Loop. Let's add a loop here and here to just retain the volume, and we'll also do it on the inside there. And we need to make sure that we do that on all of these surfaces here. Added in an extra edge by accident. And so we're just trying to retain the hardness of those edges there. Alright, so that looks pretty good. May want to pull these around just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. And let's take a look at our Turbo Smooth with that. You can see now we've got this shape. Looks like our mirror. Okay, very good. Let's go to our front view. Now with this smooth, you can see that we're not quite to the shape that we desire. We've got kind of this curve up here at the top. Let's go to Edit and Swift Loop. Let's show a result on that. And let's add a loop right on this edge. If you hit 2, go to your edge mode, you can kind of see how this is going to apply that. So you can see that this begins to sharpen up. Let's take all of those vertices, okay, in that line there, and let's just pull that over to the left. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that my constraints are turned on the edge, and you're going to pull that over to the left. Now if you pull it too far, you'll notice that these sets of vertices are stopping. They're not going any further. So pull it over a little bit, stop, and then pull it over some more, and then stop, and then pull it over a little bit more. Okay, so I want to make sure that this set of vertices is right in line with that. And then I'm just going to grab these along the top, pull that straight up, but let's turn our constraints off. I don't know how many times I've said that during this course of turning those constraints off. Alright, so there is the shape of our mirror. Now, because we have added this little shape here, we also need to make sure that we are taking care of this shape down here. So let's take these vertices that have nothing to do with that at the top, and let's turn on our edge constraints. Pull that back to the left, and that's going to soften that curve along the bottom. Turn off your edge constraints, and there we go. So if I hit Alt-X, you can see how that's shaped there. You might come in, do a little bit of tweaking to the overall shape, but we should be pretty good here. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to create the arm that comes off of that mirror. And this is done by just selecting these sets of vertices, or polygons, excuse me, and extruding that out. Now let's just grab only these two. Let's extrude it, and I'm just going to extrude it out a little bit. I'm going to pull it out, and then I'm going to pull it down into position, okay, to right about here on that corner there. Now this is going to look really odd at first, but what we're going to do is we're going to spread this out. So I'm going to grab this front edge, I'm going to pull it out like that. Grab this top edge and pull that up, and then we'll pull that up as well. And what we're trying to do is we're just trying to match the shape of it up against the glass. So we'll come up and we'll pull this back a little bit. You might go ahead and hit F3, and you want to take this point, let's try to get that to sit right on top of that seal. This is going to come down to here, and then to here. Hit F3 so we can kind of see that a little better. And then we're going to push that up against the glass. Okay. Now I know the glass is see-through right now. Let's go ahead and select that glass and then hit Alt-X. I really just want to be able to see it right up against that surface. So pull that back against that. Pull that up. And then pull this back here. Alright. So you can see it's starting to get the shape, but it's just not quite right. We need to add some segments to the end of this. Let me pull that up there. So let's go to Edit and Swift Loop. Let's add a loop right up here against the edge of that, and let's get it really close. And you'll see that that begins to sharpen that edge up. Okay, that's going to make that fit right in there. Now, the really cool thing about this mirror is it's kind of pointed, okay, right here in the center. So we're going to add a segment right across the center here. And you'll see that that begins to bring that shape out. Okay. Now, I don't like the way that it's, you know, it has all of this thickness here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take an edge and I'm going to add a loop right here. Okay. And with that there, let's go ahead and take these polygons right across the front. And don't forget the ones on the very end. Okay, those little tiny ones. And we're going to take that, we're going to push that back in the Y. Notice what that does is it starts to make that thin, and you can see that we get this taper that comes right off of that mirror. And it looks just like that. Might be a couple of things that you'll want to tweak about it. Let's go ahead and grab the vertices right here in the middle. Maybe pull those up, take this and pull that down a little. Switch up its shape just a little bit more. I really want that to kind of look like it's going into right underneath the rubber seal there. So it should match up just like that. All right, very good. Happy with that so far. Let's grab these vertices right here on the end, and I want to just pull that forward in the Y just ever so slightly. Okay, so looking at that mirror, it's fitting right inside of that. I think something that might help this out just a little bit more would be to add another segment to this. Actually, let me pull that up there. I got a little bit away from my edge, and I think I got this twisted. Let's take this segment right here. Let's hit Control Backspace to remove that. Then let's take the end polygons on this thing. And we've got several here, so just be careful. Make sure we're selecting the right ones. Okay, so right in here, we've got these segments, and I want to make those planar. So let's just hit Make Planar. You'll see that that straightens up there. And then come in with the edge loop again, add a swift loop, and then push that up against that edge. And you can see now that's nice and sharp there. Play around with the shape a little bit. I don't like how that's kind of sticking up off of that like that, so I'm going to taper it down a little bit more. But overall, I'm happy with that. Okay, so I'm not going to actually, let me go to my front view. I just want to check my shape a little bit more, kind of its position. I think we're pretty good there. So let's go ahead and change its name. Let's say mirror, or side mirror, I should say. Change its color, and then its material. And then let's also change its pivot point. So we're going to center that to the object and then set that to 0. Effect pivot only, and then apply a symmetry modifier to it. Okay, and then we'll flip that in the X. And so now we've got both mirrors on our car. And it's looking really good. Okay, so this car does have kind of some long mirrors that stick off of that, but I think it works really well for it. Okay, so now that we have that set of mirrors there, you could add like maybe a plastic piece that comes off of this and underneath and kind of helps it separate it from that window, but I think it looks pretty good the way it is. You might just add that little detail there. So we have our mirrors. Now let's go ahead and move on to our next lesson where we're going to finish out the grill. So we need to create the slats in that, and then we also need to create that mesh that we'll see underneath that. So we'll get started with that in our next lesson.